essentials of fundraising for social impact. Where does the link between fundraising and social impact lie? Yeah. The country has, so if you see, the country has many development challenges, and nonprofits are essential to addressing those challenges. And to be able to attend or address those challenges, they need, one, of course, to be efficient, to know what they are doing, with requisite capacity, but also with resources. And fundraising is what allows them to raise those resources to achieve their social impact. Yeah, the remote is there. This isn't getting on. It's working. But if the hand mic doesn't. So we were talking about the link between social impact and fundraising. So if we understand the link between social impact and fundraising, where do the challenges lie? And here I'm talking about challenges that are internal to the organization. We know where the external challenges lie in terms of do donors actually understand the mission or the program, appreciate it, will they fund it? Those are external to the organization, but where is it that internal challenges lie? And anybody here would like to share their perspective on where they think fundraising challenges internal to the organization lie. Yeah.
I think,
do you want?
I don't know about this, but in UP, most of the NGOs face challenges in writing the proposals, reaching out to funders and writing to proposal, because most of the funders are in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore side, and being in Lucknow, this is one of the challenges to reach out to the funders and also to write proposals as per their requirements. So these are the two challenges which we constantly face. Should I?
Challenges we faced, we're based out of South India. We come from Isha Foundation. We have fantastic projects. The challenges we faced was the companies, the corporations which are away from us, based out of Delhi or Maharashtra or eastern side, they all prefer to donate in their own geographical space. They don't want to transfer money to other state or far off regions.
I'm Dhimant. I actually teach a little bit of fundraising. So not just from my perspective, but also from my students' perspective, I think the biggest challenge lies in research within my own organization. Do I know if I'm going to the right funder? I mean, as a novice fundraiser, about 12 years back, I called up somebody in PepsiCo and pitched an education project. Today I know I won't do that. So the idea that most of our NGO friends and fundraisers specifically reach out to anybody without doing thorough research to understand if their vision and ours are in alignment. I think that's one of the most critical challenges.
So research and alignment, two very important points. Anybody else? Yeah.
Morning, I'm Dilip from Dhwani Foundations. So we train NGOs, largely grassroots, and 100% rural. So what we observe, a couple of challenges which is internal to the NGOs are, one, often they don't have a full-fledged fundraising team. When I say team, even if it is one member, they don't have, purely because they are small in size, maybe rural, best of talents are not available, people come and go and all of that. So which fundamentally rests in the shoulders of the leader. But the challenge is leader often is on firefighting mode, so fundraising always takes a step back. And second is research. They don't have the wherewithal, they don't know what to research, they don't know from where to research. And you talked about PepsiCo example. That is classically happens in CSRs. And the examples of most CSR organizations tends to stick to that 50 to 100 kilometer radius of where they operate, especially if it is the manufacturing sector. So all this smaller NGOs don't have a sense. In the process, they kind of go berserk. And third, the internal challenge or lack of understanding we observe is they often ignore the retail funding. They often ignore the fundraising opportunities, which is around 100 kilometers where they operate it. And proposal writing, though, anyway, hai. And all the more reason if they're dealing with CSRs, because a lot of times they don't have a face to interact at the CSR. Portal mein dal do, we will take it, we'll open your proposal 7 months later. He or she will be waiting for the proposal approval for the 7 months without even knowing the project is going to get approved. So these are the things we observed. So largely on fundraising, these are the 3-4 things we observe in a smaller size organization, that too from rural.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, Seema Bhatnagar. Absolutely new. Absolutely, to fundraising, to my work also. 7-8 months I've been working on my own money, and suddenly the money seems to be drying up, and I just don't know what to do. So
That's the challenge.
Yes,
All right,
thank you,
that's how you know. So what to do is the challenge. So many of the points have already been mentioned. Yeah. Where does the challenge lie? He spoke about firefighting, so which is about investing your time, investing in a team, starting of course from an acknowledgement saying that fundraising is essential. It's a core activity, not peripheral to the organization. Most of us tend to say that this is the work we do, this is the program, this is our purpose, our mission in life. And fundraising takes a peripheral seat, but an acknowledgement that that work cannot happen unless this happens, and therefore to give it its due space, that is a challenge. Investing, we've heard, in terms of when we speak about team. So is there enough people? We spoke about skills. So somebody who doesn't know what to do. Funds, very important. So if you do not invest in your team in fundraising per se, you can't expect any outcomes, and time. Along with it, we spoke about the challenges of research. So understanding what the landscape is, understanding, and we spoke about CSR, the fact that they give to within 150 to 200 kilometers of where they are. So understanding what the regulations are, where do their constraints lie, the donor constraints in terms of the landscape. What are the motivations? Why would anyone want to give to you? And the fourth thing we heard about, alignments. So important. So where does the alignment between our organization and the donor lie? And the fourth one in terms of fundraising challenge, when you actually go in for the implementation. So my funding is drying up, we heard. I don't know what to do next. So when we are implementing fundraising, where do we start? Is there an approach? Is there a plan? Are there systems and processes in place? Do we need to look at them? Do we have connects? Do we have the supportive infrastructure in terms of, we speak about communication, so important to have your material ready, whether it is in terms of website, what is it that you want to talk about? Where is the value proposition, right? If you're looking at, somebody spoke about missing the opportunity of retail fundraising, but do you have, and retail fundraising is all about numbers, so do you have a database management software which is very essential for that kind of fundraising? Will you be able to look at analytics there? So those are some of the challenges. We'll just kind of look at understanding them a little in detail, and then seeing how can we overcome them. The session was about essentials. And we just spoke about that. I'll just take some water. So we spoke about acknowledgement and an understanding of how fundraising is part of the core, it's not peripheral. And understanding also about saying that this is about something that can help do much more than just get us resources. It helps you expand your reach. It helps build a community which is as engaged and can be as committed to your mission as you are, right? And also about creating the kind of organization that you want, which has financial stability and allows you to do what you want to focus on. So that's an acknowledgement. We spoke about investing and we heard it from the people here as well. So investing time firstly. So is everyone involved? Is your board involved in opening doors, in helping you access, in actually making the first pitch as well? What about your senior leadership? What about teams across? Yeah, what is the kind of support? It's not about fundraising being one person, one department, the sole responsibility. The second is in terms of people. We heard from someone saying one-person team, right? And what about if you have a budget size of, say, 5 crores? So what is the kind of team that you want? If you're looking at institutional fundraising, what kind of team do you want? If you're looking at retail fundraising, if you're looking at diversifying. So are you looking at a team that is appropriate to your ambition? Also about, so many of them, and and the head of the organization said, well, can I get someone who can do my technical research and fundraise? Yeah, those skills are very different. So you want someone who's exclusive to the domain, right? Because you want to say that this is critical to me, I need the right person for this role. And that's when the skills come into place. When somebody here spoke about challenges of proposal writing. So if you're looking at institutional fundraising, you need someone who can write proposals. If you're looking at corporate fundraising, somebody who's good at networking, somebody who's good at relationship building. When you're looking at individual fundraising, so you're looking at skills that are specific to the domain, right? And you're also looking at, and currently we are all speaking about how data, about AI in fundraising. So, so not only finding the right people, but also allowing them, investing in them to upgrade their skills when required. And it's a fact, but everything. So fundraising also needs funds, right? So you need to be able to invest in it for people, for the right team, for the right skills, also for the supporting infrastructure, right? So we spoke about investing. Yeah, this is any fundraiser knows when you go to an organization, when you go to a session, this is one typical slide that comes up. It says, well, this is the kind of GDP growth, this is how much was raised, and it puts a lot of pressure on the fundraiser. But when we look at understanding, we need to look at going beyond the headlines. So if you were to look at understanding giving, where would you go deeper? So what is it that you would look at? Any comments? So if you were to look at these headlines, what is it that you would want more information about? No? Sorry? Compliance. Okay. If somebody was to share this slide with you, what is it that you want to know more about? So any of the headlines? Yeah. Yeah.
When we say crowdfunding, how does that, like the whole crowd, but how do you actually go ahead and when we're saying 3,600 crores was raised, the question arises that it sounds good, but then how do we actually go and do the fundraising? And like the heading says, understanding giving, so understanding what type of people, how do they give, and what's the kind of communication that we do that really helps us in like the giving for the cause. So those are the couple of things that come to mind reading the first one that you've put up. Yeah.
So those were, yeah, there's someone there. Harry.
Good morning, ma'am. So my thing is, how do we create value creation with the crowdfunding? Suppose any organization having large funding from CSR or been doing a lot of work with the money that gets. As an individual donor, like me, for example, if I donate 500 rupees to a crowdfunding source, how it will create a value creation? That's how we should understand for an individual perspective.
So what I heard was two things. One is about saying I would need to know two things. One is a little more about that, who's giving and how are they giving. And the second is me as a non-profit, what can I do to tap into this? Those are the two things that I heard just now. So when we're looking at the landscape, those were the headlines. What we could look at or what we need to look at is actually trends. It's gone. Will you put it up? So primarily what we can do is look at trends which says that, okay, these are the segments. This is the corporate segment. This is what they gave 3 years back. This is what they gave last year. What is the estimate in terms of how will they grow? So I will be able to therefore understand. Yeah, it's come here. Thank you. So here are the segments on top. All of us know that giving from FCRA sources is going down. So what about the others? All the others seem to be growing. But what is the growth rate? Right? When we are looking at trends, that is one thing that we could look at. If you're looking at CSR specifically, so delving deeper. So one is looking at the main headlines, going a little deeper into it to understand what is happening. And then if you go even further down, what you need to understand is specifically, okay, so one segment CSR, where are they giving? Which sector is giving? And geography, so many of them talked about geography. So exactly where is it going, right? So that is preferred causes, sector spends, and geography. If you look at the larger ecosystem, where are the shifts happening? Donor types. Anybody who's fundraised for more than 5 or 8 years will know where the shifts are happening. Any guesses? How are the donors shifting? What did you see in terms of, so I know the kind of donors that came even 20 years back. If you look at non-profits and you ask them for an analysis of who's giving now. So if you're looking at, for example, if you're looking at individual donors, they're speaking about more younger people giving. Yeah. And that's coming, one is, of course, everybody is speaking about how the market has grown in terms of GDP, how some bit of awareness has happened in terms of non-profits, raising awareness, but also the fact that there has been technological innovation. So you suddenly have UPI, you have digital, you have crowdfunding that someone spoke about, and people are more comfortable with e-commerce. Yeah. I remember donors coming 8 years back and saying, I can't give online, right? Telling you, sorry, that's not an option that I want to choose. So donor types are changing. How is the ecosystem changing? What is it that you are experiencing in your environment? Any thoughts around that? She's talking about in more investment. Is there another hand mic that can go around? More investment in health. वहाँ पर दो हैं. Go ahead.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's more moving in terms of classifying to a tactile donors versus strategic donors. Since you asked about, the ongoing trend, of course, young donors, more of family foundations. I think these are some of the very open areas which are kind of coming up, and giving and philanthropy is getting more into the deeper sides. I think people are becoming more cautious, and I think crowdfunding is an amazing validation of the same.
Yeah. Okay. You were saying something. The person next to you.
I think there was a trend for one-time giving. Now the trend is going more towards regular giving. So instead of giving like one chunk of money in like one go, the donors prefer to give it in in segments, like every month-on-month basis. Secondly, they are also just not like one-time givers. They want to see the impact, and they want to see that the shift is also going towards environment. Earlier it was not there. It was more towards child, feeding a child. I mean, that's also there, but the shift is equally going towards environment. So people are getting conscious about this aspect also.
So causes, we spoke about health, we spoke about environment. So you're seeing a difference in terms of that. You're speaking about what you spoke about, family foundations in terms of the donor types, the ecosystem, the ways of giving. Right. Please go ahead.
I think what I was saying is that though there is a lot of investment for programs and services, institutional building is still not a priority. So when we're talking about building an ecosystem, you need institutions to be able to do great work over a period of time. And from a movement building perspective, just investing in the number of people we would reach is not going to get us there. And we continue to struggle to be able to point out to our donors that how would you do this if you didn't build in capacity of teams, or looking at infrastructure and also the skills around in the teams of the NGOs in itself, and we have not been able to do it. So in a way, ecosystem is not building in terms of building the capacity of the grassroots organizations.
There are some small
As a larger
movements.
trend,
Yeah.
when you see the fact that there are so many organizations,
That need it.
they would need a lot more investment to get to the next level.
There are pay what it takes, and other organizations as well who are investing in capacity. But like you said, it's still at a nascent stage, and much more is required. And then there are challenges, like we spoke about. So lots of external challenges that exist. The ecosystem also in terms of, but there are new innovations. So the social stock exchange that is coming up, for example. The development impact bonds that some non-profits have already experienced over the last few years. Have expectations from non-profits changed? What is it that donors now expect, or other stakeholders now expect from non-profits? Is there a shift that you've seen there? Anybody? Please. Give. They want to, yeah. Impact has become huge, right? Result-oriented, is that working? Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, the similar bucket. Please, okay, documentation. More engagement, yeah. Sorry? Is that a trend that you've seen? Okay. You think that more organizations are now open to multi-year partnerships? That's good.
Yeah, returns on investment. Sorry.
Return on
Returns
investment.
on investment,
Yeah.
and also a lot of due diligence.
Lots of due diligence, yes. So yes, documentation, the excessive documentation, that's
Yeah.
gone up for sure.
One incremental point.
One
sorry,
second, we'll
I'll-
finish with that and then we'll come to you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll complete this. One critical parameter, this is for all of us here, is what CSRs don't really look at this point, but non-CSR, non-retail, online-based, all the donors are started looking at the governance of the organizations. They're looking at, do you have a functional board, and how many of them are non-family members, how many of them have come from community, how many of them have ladies leading the board of governance, is the minutes of meeting is being run, at what frequency is the board meeting happening. All that has been looked into by foundations and evolved philanthropic organizations.
Sure.
This wasn't the case at least about 2 to 3 years back.
Sure.
So if any organization has a proper board, which you can put it in your story as part of your organization profile, that definitely adds a lot of value and carrot.
Yeah. Would you like?
One trend, the corporates are also looking for that the implementing organization should also weave in a program to involve the employees. That how do volunteer, the donors, employees also get engaged, let's say for a couple of days, dirtying their hands right on the field. That is also what they are looking at.
Okay. So we heard you have something. That will be the last one now.
Sure.
Yeah.
The other expectation is building up community ownership and sustainability, long-term sustainability of the project, so that the communities can take care of the project when the NGO exits from the location.
Yeah. So lots of expectations in terms of impact, monitoring and evaluation, documentation, how you run the organization, and sustainable. How will you look at long-term sustainability? The two things that I didn't hear about was, and all of them ask you at least in proposals, is where is the innovation and how will you scale, right? Those are expectations, and those are huge expectations, right? From as far as non-profits are concerned, and we see, and when you're looking at fundraising, what you also need to understand are how are the regulations changing, and what kind of regulations are you looking at? So we spoke about governance of the entity, so basic regulations. But primarily, when you're looking at fundraising, the CSR, the tax, the FCRA, the social stock exchange, which is coming up. So in terms of what are the kind of regulations, any other regulations that you think are important as far as fundraising or is concerned? Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi. I would request, would you throw a small light on social stock exchange?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I'll cover it quickly in 30 seconds because we have 18 minutes left. I'm looking at the counter and there's still a way to go. So it's a way, like your normal stock exchange, it's a way whereby both for-profit and non-profit, so social enterprises as well as non-profits can raise funds. It'll be managed by SEBI. There is, I think the registration for non-profits has started. I think the two important things there are, again, impact and reporting. So there will be a common minimum standard there. I can share the link with you later where you can read up more about it. Yeah, why don't you, please? Do you want to add? Yeah, so give 1 minute.
6 months, and it's a very early stage for not-for-profit. But SSC has done a lot of work on it. Maybe it's around the corner, and then about 6 months or so, SSC should be online for not-for-profits. There are 6 funds. All of that is elaborately there in the SSC Stock Exchange or NSE Stock Exchange. And these 6 are they've categorized basis 6 different themes. And one, I remember, NABARD is the co-anchor for it. And the minimum ticket size you can raise is about $1 million, which is 10 lakh rupees and kind of stuff. There are plenty of stuff. I think we also have a session on SSC today, one of the forums.
One of them, yeah.
Next session, right? Yeah, thanks. You can do that. So, but this is top line, just 6 months around the corner. But you need to have solid documentation as part of your profile to be getting listed. Sorry?
There is, for
so
NGOs, there is
you can hit the market, raise funds, like how any for-profit organization does it. SSC is giving a platform for not-for-profit to raise funds genuinely. So it will become another fundraising tool, you know, like different donor types you have, that will also become another thing. But you get public money.
All right. Can we
I guess it's her session, I'm sorry. We can catch up online.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next session is with Mr. Hemant.
This will be on the social stock exchange, so you can hear more. Non-profits will have zero coupon bonds, so you will get, like grants, you can also raise grants from there. So we were speaking about regulations. We'll move on to, when you're looking at understanding, the other bit that comes in are, what are the donor expectations? And if you look at, we spoke about a lot of donor expectations just now. As far as institutions are concerned, the only change shift here is the high net worth individuals. What are they looking at? So each segment has its own expectations and their own motivations. So once you have a handle on or understand what the donor expectations are, you can move to the next step, which is about how do you align. So alignment in terms of saying, if this is the kind of donor, what is this donor likely to fund? And what is it that I have in terms of my programs? And therefore, what do I offer to this kind of donor? So if you're looking at corporates, we spoke about bound by the CSR framework and compliance-driven. And so therefore, they are appropriate for scaling tested and proven nonprofit initiatives. Foreign foundations, all those who've got funds from FCRA or institutions know that they are good in terms of giving you not only funds, but also in terms of building capacities, right? And a lot of ultra-high net worth individual giving that you've noticed in the market nowadays is looking at building the philanthropic infrastructure. So look at, we spoke about capacity building. So what is the donor type, and where does what are their expectations, what are their motivations, and therefore what is it, where does the alignment lie, and what do we offer? We're moving on to implementation. So if you're looking at fundraising, and we spoke about a lot of things, where does the first step lie? What is the first step? We spoke about the challenges. We spoke about acknowledging that it's core. We spoke about investing time. We've spoken about that. We've looked at understanding the environment and understanding expectations and looking at motivations and aligning what we offer with expectations. But when we actually go to implement, what do we need in place? When you go to, yeah. Sorry?
Finding the right beneficiary who actually needs your support and then implementing.
No, that's the program end, but I'm talking about the fundraising end. I'm assuming the program side already exists. Yeah. You're looking at transparency. What is it that you need? Yeah, so that is in terms of ethics. Sorry? Making the first connection. But before making the first connection, before sorry? Yeah? Yeah, that's the first thing. So making the first connection, you will need to understand who do I need to go to, right? So the action plan, everyone asks you, right? So what is going to be your, if your programs are like this, what will be your budget and therefore your fundraising plan?
Yeah, I think also the capability to raise funds, because I think somehow our work has always spoken for itself, but now with the diverse donors and the requirements and the way we communicate, and we may not be aligned, do we have that capability within the organization to communicate that strategy and raise money? That capability is really critical.
Yeah, the action plan that someone spoke about, what we would need is an analysis of where we are currently, right? So somebody spoke about my fundraising has dried up, right? How much did I raise last year? From what sources? What are my stakeholders? We understood what the market conditions were like. What are the objectives of my fundraising I need to raise for this particular program? Do I need to make so many people aware of what I do, right? And somebody spoke about, do I have the requisite capacity? So what are my organizational strengths, weaknesses? Where do the opportunities lie? We talk about the SWOT. And somebody else spoke about the value proposition in relation to crowdfunding, but also, so what is it that I offer, right? What is the kind of change, and it was interesting to see somebody downstairs exhibiting freedom from dengue mosquitoes, right? And that's kind of badly needed, if not only in India, but Bangladesh nowadays as well, and Nepal. So what is my value proposition? Who am I? What is the kind of change that I want to bring? Somebody spoke about connections. Who do I reach out to? So who's my target audience going to be? What is the approach that I will look at? What are the kind of systems and processes that I will put in place to be able to reach there? And then actually putting it down in terms of the actual plan, which is what is the time frame? Is it a 1-year plan? Is it a 3-year plan? 10 minutes. Okay. What are my milestones going to be looking like? What are the activities? And the budget. Yeah. So putting the fundraising framework, the essential framework here. This is, before that maybe, I should look at. When we look at donors, we largely classify them under the entire donor life cycle. We look at saying we are acquiring donors. The purpose is to look at it holistically, saying that we engage donors, try and acquire them, convert them into lifelong supporters. So ensure that they stay with us and also move on to upgrade. So that is, they don't only give us money, but they also give us time. They provide access to networks. They advocate on our behalf. And somebody spoke about saying, who do I connect with? So that's the entire fundraising cycle, if you're looking at the essentials. So identifying who, and somebody spoke about research being a limitation. So that's the first step, and a very critical step in terms of saying, where is my catchment? And within that catchment, who do I qualify? So somebody who gives to Gujarat when I have programs in Tamil Nadu is not my catchment, even though they may be giving to programs that are similar to mine. Somebody who I have access to may be a good bet for conversion. Qualification, cultivation is when you actually build the relationship without, at the moment you're not asking for money. You move on to solicitation when you actually make your pitch. And then stewardship is about building the relationship to ensure that they stay with you. I would not. So when you're talking about saying, I have, and sometimes most people will tell you that this is one of the critical things that you need to look at, because getting a donor is far more expensive than ensuring that somebody who's with you stays with you. So what are, and somebody spoke about transparency, but what is it that you need in order to be able to look at keeping someone with you? And nowadays, and we spoke about a supportive infrastructure in terms of saying, if you're carrying out fundraising, then what is it that you need? So ability to tell stories. We didn't speak about communications, but that's critical as far as fundraising goes. Do you have a brand? Because you know how many doors open up when your name is known, right? And how do you look at building that kind of a brand? So each slide we can go into and discuss for 2 hours, but this is some of the practices that people follow to ensure that donors stay with them, which is about, And here somebody spoke about, not many sessions speak about it, but I think if as fundraisers, as part of non-profits, these are, and we talk about ethical practices when we talk about the community and our programs, about being transparent and connecting with the community and sharing with them. This side, we don't discuss ethical practices so much, but I think this is equally critical. Having standards in terms of each step of fundraising. So what is it that you will share? Somebody spoke about the 5, and since we were talking about impact and monitoring and evaluation, so how do you evaluate yourself? What are some of the metrics? And these are just 4 metrics. You have multiple metrics that you could look at if you are looking at how successful your fundraising is. I was reading somewhere, and that struck in my mind, saying that when you're looking at fundraising, or when you're looking at actually engaging a community, what are the essential things that you need to look at? And they spoke about inclusion. Inclusion is when people feel that they belong, and this can be linked to your employees, this can be linked to your communities, this can also be linked to your donors. But inclusion, they spoke about transparency. They spoke about empowerment, letting people share their own stories, right? Allowing people, and this is equally important as far as your donors are concerned. How many of us know, not corporates, but when you look at individuals or institutions also, and each of them has a story to share as to why they give. So, allowing people to share their stories, that's empowerment. But also supporting others to share their stories. So when you look at communities, so collaboration, saying how do you not only share your stories, but come collectively to share each one's stories. And then the last one was about celebration. So how do you thank and how do you celebrate what you do? So that's the end. And thank you for being here. You had something to share. Yeah, please go. Yeah, CSRBOX can share it with, I think they'll be available, right?
So, with your permission, I'd just like to add one thing. I mean, sure. you kind of covered everything that an NGO needs. But one thing that in my experience I think is very important for non-profits is to actually have a product to sell. Yeah. And when it comes to the programs, while we have a lot of programs, but I'm talking about a specific product creation. Yeah. What I can sell to an HNI, I generally cannot sell to a corporate and an individual. So each segment of givers demand a separate kind of product. So I think that's one thing that I'd just like to add with your permission. And you spoke about communication. If, again, with your permission, I'd probably do a little self-marketing. I run a communications company which services only the non-profit sector. So there are I think about 4 or 5 such companies now in India which work as marketing agencies only for the non-profits. And I think telling the story is probably the most critical way to reach out. So all of the non-profits should probably consider that as one of their budget line items, saying communication mein thoda paisa dalna chahiye. That's what
Ma'am, I have a question actually. So I'm a communications professional, and when you said communications and fundraising are so closely integrated, it's something so true, and it's great that now non-profits are also realizing that how crucial communications is. One question is that when I look back 10 years back, so, you know, at that point of time, it was non-profits had a little bit of hesitation, or I don't know, they was like, "Hamara kaam bolta hai." So we don't have to necessarily communicate. But today the scenario has changed. Now everybody is communicating, and in that sense, what is happening is the stories are becoming more or less the same. You know, you read one NGO's report, another NGO's report, it comes out like.
So how do you
differentiate?
Yeah,
that is what it is.
Yeah, people talk about authenticity, saying you have to be true to what you do, to your voice. And that helps. One
good morning,
last comment or question, because we have 1 minute left.
My question is the NGOs, how NGOs can search the corporates for the fundraising?
How can?
NGO can search corporates for the fundraising.
Yeah, so
for example, if they are working in education or special education or disability sector, so how they can search for the fundraising?
Yeah, so you have the National CSR portal, you have CSRBOX itself, you can look at corporates, you can go to the stock exchange and get actually Ministry of Corporate Affairs and look at people's corporate, annual corporate reports. Their CSR section will tell you what they give to. Apart from that, if you work in the field of education and you know other non-profits who work in the field of education, you can look at their annual reports also to check who else is giving to them. That will also give you a kind of a segment.
CSR policy, their CSR policy, right?
Yeah, you can look at, so look at the top 100, top 200 companies and look at their CSR, where they gave. And otherwise also, like I said, that there are, you have the National CSR portal, the government portal that gives you information about which company gave where, which geography, and CSRBOX also does reports around that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Time's up. So thank you again.